You're listening to the Cyberwire Network, powered by N2K.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to N2K Cyberwire's Hacking Humans podcast, where each week we look behind the social engineering scams, phishing schemes, and criminal exploits that are making headlines and taking a heavy toll on organizations around the world. I'm Dave Bittner, and joining me, as always, is Joe Kerrigan. Hey there, Joe.
Hi, Dave.
And our N2K colleague and host of the T-Minus Space Daily podcast, Maria Vermazis. Maria.
Hi, Dave, and hi, Joe.
Hi, Maria.
Hi, Joe. Hi, Maria.
Hi, I'm going to do this every week.
We got some good stories to share this week. We'll be right back after this message from our show's sponsor. But first, a word from our sponsors at KnowBe4. Time travel would be a particularly powerful tool in the hands of any overworked InfoSec professional. Think about it. Being able to see the future and know which malicious emails would be missed by all the existing filters. Your ability to stay one step ahead of the bad actors would rise to a whole new level. Unfortunately, our sponsors haven't cracked time travel just yet. They are, however, introducing a new phishing protection product that can block and remove dangerous phishing emails before your users even see them. Stay with us, and in a few minutes, you'll learn how. All right, before we dig into our stories, we got some follow-up here from a listener who wrote in with some information about FEMA. So this is following up. We were talking about some of the goings-on after the terrible hurricanes that hit the southeast here in the United States. And someone wrote in with some good information about FEMA, the critical needs assistance, which is, remember we were kind of recalling that there was an immediate fund that you could get. Right. Joe, you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the Critical Needs Assistance Fund, and that is indeed what that is for. So basically the bottom line, I'm not going to read the whole email from this kind listener who wrote in, but the bottom line is disasterassistance.gov is pretty much the one-stop shop for everything you can want to know about these sort of situations and what FEMA can and cannot do for you. And then also there's resources at the Better Business Bureau to protect yourself from folks who are out there trying to scam people. This listener also recommended calling 211 to find local resources if there is an emergency. And also wanted to remind folks that a lot of what happens through FEMA is tied to your home address. So be careful to not apply for multiple things using the same address. Like you can run into issues with that. Or someone could use your address without you knowing it and get funds that were intended to be for you. So disasterassistance.gov is the main link to check out. And we thank our listener for writing in and clarifying some of that. We do appreciate it. And of course, we'd love to hear from you. If there's something you would like to share with us, you can email us. It's hackinghumans@n2k.com. All right, well, let's jump into our stories here this week. I'm going to kick things off. This is a story from the New York Times. It's called, "Their Parents Are Giving Money to Scammers. They Can't Stop Them." And it's kind of a tragic story here. There's two folks that they talk about in this story, but I'm just going to talk about one of them. This was a gentleman named Chris Mancinelli, and when his father passed away, his father Alfred, Chris went to his father's home. His father was 79 years old when he passed, and he went to his home, and he went in, and there on the refrigerator were some family photos, pictures from his grandchildren, crayon drawings and snapshots of his grandchildren. But also on the fridge was a photo of Alexa Bliss, a WWE wrestling star. Now, let me pause here and ask, are either of you familiar with Alexa Bliss?
No.
I am not, no. Nope.
Neither of you have your Alexa Bliss action figures?
Doll? No.
As opposed to something else, Joe?
That's what I like. I like when people say they're not dolls or action figures. I'm like, they're dolls.
Yeah,
they're dolls.
They're dolls. But I put a photo of Ms. Bliss in our show notes here, so the two
scroll
of you
down
can
and take a look.
check out what Ms. Bliss looks like. Maria, why don't I give you the honors since it won't. You're less likely to get in trouble describing this lovely lady than either Joe or I are. Huh? No, your words, not mine. So, in the self-interest of both Joe and me,
I see.
Why don't you describe? Yeah,
she's got a rockin' hot bod, everybody, and she's she's very athletic, and she's wearing skimpy clothing, and she looks great.
She's in good shape.
Yeah,
she's in fantastic
hair.
shape.
Yeah,
good for her.
Yeah. She looks like exactly like I expect when you said female WWE star.
Okay. Yeah. She looks like she is in fantastic physical shape.
Yeah. Well, I imagine you have to be for that job.
I mean, there have been some really fat guys in that job.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
George the Animal Steel was a big fat guy.
Yeah, I mean...
Strong.
Andre the Giant was no string bean.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Anyway, Chris found out that his father believed that he was in a romantic relationship with Alexa Bliss. And over the years, his father had sent nearly $1 million to this imposter. Obviously, this person was not actually Alexa Bliss, the WWE star. This was someone
awful
pretending to be Alexa Bliss. Alfred, the father, his nest egg was nearly $1 million. And at some point, it had gotten down to just about $100,000. And Chris, his son, decided to intervene and moved his father's funds to a secure account in the hopes of protecting them from further loss. And his father was furious at him, sued him, and demanded that the money be returned. He was convinced that he and Alexa had a real relationship, and he refused to believe otherwise. And this resulted in the family not communicating, disowning children, not being able to see granddaughters, just terrible, terrible pain for the family that, lasted through when the father died. There was no reconciliation here.
Oh, awful. Jeez, that's heartbreaking.
So
infuriating.
After his father passed, Chris put together a bit of a timeline of this, and he says that it seems to have started back in 2018. And he credits the pandemic as kind of deepened his father's vulnerability, the isolation from the pandemic, and I think we can all relate to feeling lonely or vulnerable during the pandemic at one point or another.
Oh, 100%.
I kind of liked it.
So this relationship with what did you say?
I kind of liked it.
We're both here in our feelings, and you're like, it was great.
Yeah, that's right. All those pesky people.
Sorry for my extrovert co-host.
Sit home by myself.
I am not an extrovert. I am not an extrovert.
Not have to be bothered by all you people.
Joe, I was basically taking care of a 3-year-old all day. I'm not an extrovert. I just got worn out. Yeah.
I have extrovert abilities.
Did you have extra earnings?
But I do enjoy my solitude when given the opportunity.
Yes, I love my solitude from time to time.
Yeah. This had gone so far that Alfred had even considered selling his home, and he had taken out loans against his car. He had put his television in hock to send more money to the scammers. He never actually met anyone. But they had convinced him that this, fake Alexa, there were times when she needed help with money for surgery, that she needed help being protected from Vince McMahon, the guy who runs the World Wrestling organization. So super deep, and the person had, fallen for this horribly, and his Chris, the son, is just heartbreaking. because these scammers, not only did they take away the father's resources, and in doing so, any resources that could have been passed along to the family when the father passed away.
Right.
But also it just broke up the family. I mean, everyone felt betrayed, and they felt like they had lost their father and their grandfather to these scammers. The father was so trusting of these scammers, and it's just heartbreaking. It's so hard when someone believes in this sort of thing and they think that there's I was going to say real love, but even just a real relationship.
Right.
I have a neighbor who's going through this in real time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
A young man who has some challenges in life, has some physical challenges in life, and lives with and he's in his 20s, lives with his mother near me, and I've spoken with his mother about the romance scam. But yeah, there's a woman in Florida who's basically fleecing him. And the thing is, he's an adult, right? I
Right.
mean, he's not a child. He's an adult. He gets to do what he wants with his money. It's his money.
Yeah. And have you talked to him?
I have not yet crossed paths with him to speak with him. When I do see him, I am going to talk to him.
Yeah, I'd like to know how it goes. I have a prediction about how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually oddly have some experience on the one angle that we haven't covered. Not me personally, but I have friends who are somewhat public figures that have been impersonated by scammers.
Oh,
And when they
wow.
go to events, sometimes people who are convinced that they've been in a relationship with them come up to them to get an autograph or at like a meet and greet event. And
Right.
it's in some cases people don't know that they've been impersonated until that moment. But other folks find out ahead of time, and they actually try to intervene to the person saying, I'm so glad to finally see you in person. I've sent you all that money. How is your dad doing or whatever? And you only get a little bit of time to actually tell them, I'm not the person you've been speaking to. Like, you're being taken advantage of. Like, I would never ask you for money. And sometimes that gets through, but in other cases, the person just goes, oh, you're being coy. I get it. You're being shy about our relationship. And it just,
Right.
Wow.
the denial runs so deep.
Yeah.
You just kind of don't know what to do at that point. But
Yeah. No, it's heartbreaking. There's more to this story, and so we will have a link to the story in the New York Times. But these are becoming so common now, and the heartbreak here is so deep, and the financial loss. So I guess the lesson to our listeners is check in, be on the lookout for this sort of thing, and just make sure that I guess the hope is if you can catch it early on, then maybe you'll have some chance of heading it off at the pass, but it really is a tough one.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah. All right, let's move on here. Maria, what do you have for us this week?
oh, it's a pretty simple one, I think. A sort of an update to an ongoing issue that I'm sure a lot of our listeners who work in IT have been encountering. This one is from our friends at Wallarm, who have some new research about DocuSign API abuse, and that's sending out a whole bunch of convincing-looking invoices at scale. So folks who have been working in IT for ages can tell you there have been, for ages, email security issues where you get Square, DocuSign, I'm trying to think of other, all sorts of services that businesses often use, impersonated in
PayPal.
phishing emails. Sorry, what was that? Bitcoin. Yes.
PayPal.
PayPal, yes.
Yeah, because PayPal has their own interface that you can use.
Right.
Yes, and these have been getting abused for years, so that is nothing new. And the typical scam is, you get a convincing looking invoice that you didn't expect, but maybe you just figure you forgot something, and you click on a link. It takes you to a phishing website. Your credentials get exposed, etc. This is a slightly different flavor on the old scam that Wallarm is exposing. And this one specifically abuses in this case, the DocuSign API to send a valid-looking invoice for a product, and it relies on essentially human error at an organization because in many cases, this product actually has been requested by the organization. So they are expecting an invoice. Somehow the scammers, I suppose, either know or anticipate this. And they essentially use the DocuSign API to create an invoice that, again, is coming from a real DocuSign URL, in this case, usually DocuSign.net. And then the scammer tacks on an additional charge in the invoice that wasn't supposed to be there, but they kind of sneak it in. And then the idea is that the recipient at the organization misses that detail, still signs the invoice through DocuSign, puts in all their bank information, and then the scammer actually receives the funds in their direct bank account. So to me, it sort of reminds me of like those birds that sneak into like a nest and push the eggs out. Like I couldn't remember what that was called. It was a brood parasite, apparently. I'm like, that's sort of like a brood parasite.
Right.
Yeah, which is like, that's an interesting little twist on this very common scam. And so, Joe, you mentioned that PayPal allows people to send these things out at scale. DocuSign does as well, because, I mean, my God, how many DocuSign emails have you all gotten in the last month? I mean, I get a ton. So DocuSign does make it easy by necessity to automate spray and pray, sending out tons and tons of emails through their API. But unfortunately, it does make it hard to detect these incoming attacks and these incoming fraudulent emails, because it is that cat and mouse game. I was reading I went down a bit of a Reddit rabbit hole on this one to figure out like what people are doing about this. This is way outside of my lane. I've never worked in IT, so I'm just trying to figure out like what people are doing. But I was reading some folks saying that essentially it got so bad that they had to essentially manually stop every single email that says it's from DocuSign, and then manually approve them one by one, because they just cannot stay on top of these kinds of scams, which is like, what a nightmare for a business.
Well, I mean, the solution is just tell people, I'm not doing business with you if you're going to do DocuSign. I mean, but that's not going to work so well.
That's hard.
Everybody uses DocuSign.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and you also you often find yourself in a business relationship where you are not the alpha person in that relationship. You know, like if you're a small contractor and you're doing business with Anheuser-Busch, you know, you're not going to go to them and say, listen, we can't use DocuSign. They're going to be like, we use DocuSign, right?
Yeah. And you don't get to say in this.
And that's it. Right,
Yeah, exactly.
If you want our money, this is who we use, and that's the way it goes. Just real quick, backing up here, Joe, for the folks in our audience who may be scratching their heads, can you give us a brief description of what an API actually is?
So an API, stands for Application Programming Interface, and it allows you as a programmer to write code that then calls some web service somewhere. I'm imagining this is a web-based API, a web API. But other APIs can be like with like remote procedure call or some other way. There's hundreds of ways to do it, but this is probably a web-based API where you go out and you say, I'm going to essentially automate doing something with a web service, and it's usually a pretty simple interface that you just have to format correctly, and that's what 99.9% of software development is formatting things correctly.
Data formatting.
And code formatting, and actually there's more to it than that. I'm exaggerating, but yeah, it's just a way to automate interacting with DocuSign.
Yeah. So APIs really enable and empower automation.
And they speed it up. They make it, so a scammer can really go ahead and do this.
Yeah, get data out there really fast. That's the beauty of an API, but also the huge risk that they also can entail. And Joe,
this sounds like a problem at DocuSign.
It does sound like a problem with DocuSign, although, again, them being one of the huge orgs that is targeted for this kind of abuse, I mean, I wish them the best of luck. I mean, my goodness, sounds like a really hard one to tackle. But I was they had a white paper about what you as an organization can do about it, and a lot of their recommendations were essentially, hope your IT team has enough money to have really fancy tools to fight this. But they did say something about, just like, okay, great, that's wonderful. Enforcing demarc, reject, or at least quarantine policies is like, this is getting very IT. But Joe, can you explain what that means? Because I think I thought that was kind of neat. But
so DMARC actually stands for Domain-Based Message Authentication and Reporting and Conformance, which is an email authentication policy that also you can get reports as well. It builds on top of SPF and DKIM, which I'm not going to go down to the weeds on those, but they add linkage for the domain it was from, and they look for signatures from it as well. So presumably somebody using the API might not have access to a signature. I don't know how well that will work. It would be interesting to see if this is an issue that exists if you put on DMARC deny, which means if it doesn't have a DMARC record and I can't validate it, I'm not going to even receive the email.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Yeah, which again, it comes down to I hope you have enough money in your org to do this, which just frustrates me. But yeah, that's
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the quick thing here would be just to have extra scrutiny for anything coming from DocuSign,
Yeah.
yes.
which, whether or not that's practical or not, that's where we are.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. All right. Interesting. Well, we will have a link to that story in the show notes. Before we get to Joe's story, let's take a quick break to hear a message from our sponsor. We were talking about mitigating cyber threats to your organization before your users even see them. The new Phish ER Plus from KnowBe4 was developed to help you supercharge your organization's email security defenses. How? You get a unique crowdsourcing advantage. More than 10 million highly trained KnowBe4 end users from across the globe catch and report malicious email that makes it through all the filters. KnowBe4's Threat Lab then validates it with AI and with human researchers. Phish ER Plus blocks phishing threads other tools have missed and proactively removes them from your users' inboxes. Not quite time travel, but we think you'll agree it's a vital capability in any InfoSec professional's arsenal. Visit knowbe4.com/products/PhishER-plus to learn more. That's knowbe4.com/products/PhishER-plus. And we thank KnowBe4 for sponsoring our show. And we are back. Joe, you are up. What do you got for us this week?
Should I talk about the election?
No.
Okay.
No, please no.
I actually wanted to talk about this a little bit.
People listen to our show to get away from that kind of stuff.
I want to say I have done something right on Facebook.
Okay.
Because have you guys been looking at Facebook since the election?
I've checked in.
Have you seen, what does it look like? Does it look like a dumpster fire?
Well, I mean, I'd say no more than usual.
Okay.
But
I have seen almost no political posting on Facebook.
Oh,
Really?
Yes, really.
You mean even from your friends?
Yes, even from my friends. The closest I get the ones that are vaguely political. Like I think I saw one of your posts, Dave, that was not political, but something else.
Yeah.
That kind of tangential. And then I had another friend who said nothing is ever as bad or as good as it seems.
Okay.
Right? And that's been the extent of what I've seen. I've seen tons of ads, though.
Yeah.
I scroll through and I see ad after ad after ad. But no, I have gone through enough times and said, I'm not interested in seeing anybody else's political opinion.
Okay.
I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. It's not what I do with my life. It's not how I spend my time. It's not what I think about. I don't want to see it. And I think that something has happened where I'm not, I've done enough complaining or enough saying I'm not interested in this that I don't see it.
You've been a squeaky enough virtual wheel
Right.
that Facebook has thrown up its virtual hands and said, don't show Joe anything political.
Right.
Joe has
Wow.
won
Well, that
over
vigilance
Zuckerberg.
pays off.
Holy
yeah.
cow.
Yeah. Although I'll tell you, I'm seeing tons of ads.
Yeah.
And I get lots of links to all the pages I'm following as well,
Yeah.
which are stupid
Wow.
pages.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
what's
it's-
different there? I mean, ads and stupid pages are always like, there's no change. That's exactly
right.
what my Facebook's been like for years. Although that says
Yeah.
probably a lot more about me, to be honest.
So aside from that, I just wanted to say, yay me.
Well, congratulations.
Well, actually,
Yeah.
here's something where Facebook has actually produced a pleasant user experience, or at least not a negative one.
Right. That's the high praise that we
right.
can.
I can say this. Using Facebook after the election, for me, did not suck.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that did require a
lucky
lot
you.
of upfront work. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry,
Yeah.
that has not been my experience at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I'm sure that most people listening to me right now are like, how does he do it? And I'm like, I don't know. I just started complaining about, I don't want to see this. And whenever anybody posted anything political, didn't matter if I agreed with it or not. I was like, I don't want to see it. And that it apparently works if you do it long enough.
All right, I'm going to try it.
Actual stories. Let's see. I have this this one that's actually from the middle of last month. It came out. It's from OCTA. It's actually on CVE.org. It's a which is Common Vulnerability Enumeration. Okta found out that if there was something with their Okta Verify for iOS version 9.251 beta and 9.27, allow push notification responses through the iOS context-sensitive feature and that allows authentication to proceed regardless of your selection. Okay, so if you click authorize, the connection is authorized. If you click don't authorize, the connection is authorized.
Oops.
Now, this is not, this is like the part of social engineering that I think is part of social engineering, but a lot of people will say, no, this is just a software bug.
Okay.
It is a software bug. That's 100% correct. And it's probably not a software bug with the underlying security principles. It is a UI, or as they say in the biz, UIX.
Yeah.
User interface experience. It's a UI bug. This is someone who just called the same function on two parts of a form or web app or whatever it is. That it's not a web app; it's a phone app. On two parts of the interface, they called the same function. That's my guess. I'm speculating, but I'll bet that's what it was.
Okay.
So that's a problem caused by a human doing something wrong.
Right.
So this illustrates how there's this general sense out there that, oh, the computer says this, it must be right. No, humans write software, humans are vulnerable and fallible. Therefore, software is vulnerable and fallible. So keep that in mind.
Humans write software for now.
For now. Correct. Yes, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there.
I'll add to your story here, Joe, that things have not been going well for OCTA lately. And for folks who aren't familiar, OCTA, they are in the authentication business.
Yes.
Like that's what they do. If you need a widget for your app or, whatever, you can get it from OCTA and they'll take care of that part of it for you. And they recently had another bug where if your username was longer than 52 characters, you didn't have to have a password to log in.
Ruh-roh.
Well, that's just because your username is as long as a username and password should be, Dave.
Yeah. So
I'm joking, of course.
It had something to do with there was some sort of hashing issue with something blah, blah, blah under the hood, technical kind of things.
They were not validating input. That's my guess.
Yeah. I do believe that was among the things I read about the problem. But so, yeah.
Right.
Bad, not good if you're OCTA right now.
No. Okay, so that was my first story. Second story actually is a social engineering story, and it has to do, this is from the BBB, and it has to do with a new scam that's going around. And since we're exiting out of silly season, as Dave likes to call it, and we're going into now the Christmas holiday, or Christmas Hanukkah.
Liturgical calendar, yes.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Right.
We're on final approach.
We're on final approach for all these shopping scams.
Scammer Advent.
Right, Scammer Advent. That's what it is.
Right.
That's a good one, Maria. So here we are, Scammer Advent.
Yeah. So what did we get today?
Right. Can you imagine the Scammer Advent calendar?
Store?
Yeah, I can.
Oh my God.
There's your $1 million idea, Joe. Scammer Advent calendars.
So
you're shopping online, and as Dave likes to say, minding your own business, and you decide to purchase from some website, or maybe you get an email that says, hey, it looks like it's from Amazon or Best Buy or wherever you shop. It's not, but it looks like it is. So you go there, and there's this incredible deal on something, and you go to enter your credit card information, and it says, your credit card's been declined. And you're like, that's funny. This card has plenty of room on it. So you try it again. Nope, declined again. So what do you do, Dave? What's the first thing you do?
I get a different credit card.
You get a different credit card. That's exactly right.
Yep.
And you try it again. Nope, that was declined too. Maybe you try as many as 3 credit cards.
Yeah.
And they all get declined, or at least they're told. What's happening behind the scenes is that the bad guys are collecting all your personal information, and they're telling you the card is declined so that you enter more credit card information, and then they're charging your credit card more than they told you they were going to charge for something they're not going to send you.
Wow. All right.
So they're using the card decline to get me to give them
another
credit cards.
Yep.
And then all the credit cards I give them, they're fraudulently charging.
Yes. And there is one story in here where somebody entered the consumer entered to make a purchase on a website, got the decline message, retried with the same card and obtained the same error message. Then they got an alert from their credit card company almost instantly, said that a $2,500 charge was declined.
Wow.
Now, that's probably a legitimate decline because they might not have had $2,500 on a credit card.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I have credit cards that have limits close to that, right? I mean,
Sure.
so that credit card is never going to have $2,500 on it, which is good for this person. So they're just, what they're doing is they're just getting more information from you. They're stealing your identity. They're actually collecting all your personal information as well. And then they're just charging your credit card and hoping to get away with it. I don't know how effective this is going to be. I think if they go for these $2,500 charges, they're going to get busted. It's not going to work.
Yeah,
I think if they go for $10, $15, it'll work all day long.
Well, but I wonder, was the $2,500 charge the one that tripped up the bank? You know, like, do they start? Because I've seen a lot of these things where they'll start with like $1, right? Just to see if it's a usable card.
Right.
And then they escalate.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, let's try 100. Well, that worked. Let's try 1,000.
Right.
You know, and they go from there. So I wonder if it's something like that. But I mean, how do you protect yourself against this?
Well, the BBB has several tips. They say verify that you're shopping at a legitimate website.
Yeah.
Scammers like to use fake and lookalike web domains, and we've seen how those can get really good.
Yeah.
Using different alphabets that look, have letters that look kind of like, I guess Roman alphabet is what we use. I don't know. Is it Roman? It's Roman, right?
I think so.
Yeah. And then
it's not Egyptian.
Right. That's just a bunch of pictures.
It's not Greek.
I would know. No, it's not. No
You're
gamma.
welcome, Maria.
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
Stop at the gamma. That's where we catch on.
Yeah.
Watch out for emails and texts with ads. Now, I don't know. I've never clicked on a text, gotten a text and go, ooh, I think I'll go buy that. Never.
No. Me neither.
Well, that's you.
Yeah, right.
Just,
It is me. You're right.
Yeah.
It is me, old man, who hates getting a text message. Don't be fooled by great offers. That's a big one. That is one that works on me. And research the business, look them up. Of course, the BBB says, look them up on bbb.org.
Sure.
And use the BBB scam tracker and use a credit card with some extra protection.
Oh.
Yeah. So that when you say, hey, that's a fraudulent charge, I need you to turn that credit card off, get me a new one, and not charge me for that.
That may be the best advice of all.
Yes.
I mean, we've talked here before about how, their premium credit cards, and Amex comes to mind.
Yes.
You'd pay a lot more for the privilege of using that card, but if something does go wrong, they just fix it.
Right.
And so,
That is nice.
Yeah. Interesting. I guess too, if you get a card declined and it's a card that has available balance, probably the thing to do is to call the credit card company before you whip out another credit card.
This actually happened to us recently. My wife had a credit card. Where was she trying to use it? Because she was calling somebody, I think, giving them a card over the phone for something we had to pay for. She wasn't there in person.
Yeah.
And it got declined like 3 times.
Were they overseas?
No, it was. We had to take our dog to an emergency vet. That's what it was.
Okay.
And
wow.
they might have been using something like Square or something.
Okay.
I mean, I've had this happen to me when I've tried to buy things from retailers that are overseas because my credit card will go, that's a weird location to be using this for.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're buying stuff online, you don't really necessarily think about where you're buying it from. So yeah, that can happen.
But anyway, she wound up using a different card that worked. And when I called the credit card company, I'll tell you, it was Capital One. I said, "What's going on? Are you seeing these declines?" They're like, "Oh yeah, that card's not activated." I'm like, "Well, wait a minute. She used it two days ago to buy groceries."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Well, yeah, that was a card present transaction. This was a not present transaction."
Oh.
So, I don't know what system the emergency vet was using.
Interesting.
Yeah, my dog got into it with one of my daughter's dogs and had to go up. She's fine.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
There are a couple of dum-dums, these dogs. I love them.
Yeah, you can't help it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will have a link to these stories in our show notes. Joe, Maria, it is time to move on to our catch of the day.
Dave, our catch of the day comes from William. I'm just going to go ahead and let you read this, Dave.
All right. It goes like this. Dear unhappy beneficiary, I felt it was needful to confide in you something that I found very disturbing in relation to your financial transaction that has appeared unending even with a substantial amount you have put into it. No doubt, the outcome has been very distressing and damaging for you. But I must make it very clear to you, at no point must you divulge our correspondence to any third party without the permission of Mr. Mark Baumgartner, who has done well in making sure your funds were not illegally confiscated, as it were. No doubt, a lot of things missed the right way, but a lot has been straightened to accommodate your request for withdrawal of your funds via the recommended platform. Without any iota of delay, kindly reply to me, if you choose, as quickly as you can for more information in any case you might need a lead to its urgent and positive finalization. It is important you reply with your full details for reconfirmation and further directives and positive advice. Sincerely, Mr. Christopher Wilson, Chief of Protocol Office of the Due Process Unit, Payments Review Unit, United Nations, Headquarters, New York.
Who would this work on?
It's somebody. Or else
I'm
they
not
wouldn't
even-
send it.
Lord.
I'm not even sure what they're asking for here.
Right.
It's all
Like,
in
there's-
business speak. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like,
What-
the ask is not clear. How is this effective? I don't think.
I have a question for you, Maria.
Yes.
Do you know how the word iota got to be mean something very small? It's a Greek letter. Is it the
Yeah,
same
no, that's a-
etymology?
No, that's a good. You know what? I took an etymology class many years ago, and I think back then I knew. I do not know now. I'm still laughing at the idea of writing in an email, Mr. Christopher Wilson, to refer to oneself. That's just.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm still kind of
That's
stuck on
Mr.
that.
Wilson to you.
Right.
And also the UN having a payment review unit, which. Just,
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, no. So how did iota become a thing?
It's iota. Huh?
Well, in modern
that
reading,
makes sense because it's the I is actually like a J, right? Like a J or a Y.
backwards
like a
J.
Germanic
Yeah.
Iota.
Yeah.
So you don't know the answer either, Joe?
I don't know. No, I don't.
Oh, you were asking me if I knew. Oh, no, I
Yeah.
have no idea.
Okay.
Great.
No.
Homework.
I don't
Well,
know
I
everything related to
guess-
Greek stuff. In fact, there's
All
a
right,
lot I don't know.
Well, come on, Maria. So
I know, my card's
we've-
revoked.
Well, we've created a cliffhanger for our listeners and some follow-up for ourselves. So when we come back next week for follow-up, we will start off with the story of. Oh, you know what? Let's do this.
Let's do it now.
No,
Google
here's
it.
what we're gonna do. No. Here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna do. Okay.
All right, I'm
Joe,
doing it now.
And Maria, the two
Yes.
of you, when
Yes.
we're done, you're going to decide. One of you is going to look up the real reason of how iota got to mean a small thing.
Okay.
The other
I mean,
is
I have
going
a
to come up
theory.
with a fake reason for why
Okay.
it is the thing. And then I'm going to choose which one is the real story.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So one of them is real. The other one, not real, but has to sound real because your goal is to trick me into choosing the not real one.
Oh,
Got it?
jeez.
Let me
All right.
see if I can. I'll take the fake one, Maria.
Well, now I
Okay.
know. You can't.
Well, okay. We'll,
We're
we'll,
really
s-
good
we'll
at this.
hold on. No.
Wow. Oh,
You
gee,
won't know.
gosh. I wonder which one of you has the real.
No.
Joe, you're horrible at this game, Joe.
Dave,
Wait,
we'll
don't tell
we'll
me.
blind it, Dave. We'll blind you to who wrote what.
I see. So, so I won't know which. I won't
You won't
know
know
if
which
either of you
response.
are reading the one that you actually wrote.
Well, you can read them
Correct.
both. You'll read them. We'll put them in the document,
Uh,
and you can read them both, and then you can decide.
all right.
And mine will be the fake.
Am I going to regret coming up with this fun little thing?
Probably
I
yes.
like it. I like it.
All right.
I like it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And
'Cause I'm
listeners,
pretty sure I
no
know the reason, but
spoilers.
I don't know for
Listeners,
sure.
no
Yeah,
spoilers.
okay. Yes.
Yeah, no
Mhm.
spoilers. And I am going to do my best over the course of the next week to avoid learning.
So we're doing
Came up
etymology
with.
and semantics on hacking humans. Is that the, is that
why
the new
not?
segment we're doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll
Right.
decide we'll have a whole new podcast.
John
Why not?
McWhorter would be proud.
Yeah, there you go. All
Love
right,
it.
that is our catch of the day. I don't know if we mentioned that this came from a listener named William. And William, we thank you for sending that in. This is a good one. We do appreciate it. We want to thank all of you for listening, and of course, we want to thank our sponsors at KnowBefore. They are experts in helping users do the right thing through new school security awareness training. That is our show. We want to thank all of you for listening. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing world of cybersecurity. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your favorite podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to hackinghumans@n2k.com. We're privileged that N2K Cyberwire is part of the daily routine of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector, from the Fortune 500 to many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. N2K makes it easy for companies to optimize your biggest investment, your people. We make you smarter about your teams while making your team smarter. Learn how at n2k.com. This episode is produced by Liz Stokes. Our executive producer is Jennifer Eiben. We're mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester. Our executive editor is Brandon Karpf. Peter Kilpie is our publisher. I'm Dave Bittner.
I'm Joe Kerrigan.
And I'm Maria Vermazis.
Thanks for listening.